Greetings, visitors. Chiswell is the name. John Chiswell. Not Chiswell, as those unfamiliar might say. Colonel John Chiswell. Disagreeable is how I am described. Argumentative, hot-tempered. But I ask you, could a disagreeable man attain such a prize as this lady? Quite accomplished, well-formed, and a good mother to our 4 daughters. 2 are now married to good planter families. 2 are still at home, and should you visit us at Chiswell House on Francis Street in Williamsburg, you will enjoy our gay hospitality and meet the most superior sort of company. This gallery is truly an impressive expression of family pride. Within these handmade panels, you'll find 4 of 10 portraits commissioned by William of Wilton. Elizabeth is here, my bride, with her father, William of Turkey Island, her brother, William of Wilton, and his bride, Anne Carter Harrison Randolph, the jewel of this house, who somehow kept it together physically, mentally, and spiritually in the stressful time following William's death in 1761. I wasn't painted. There are reasons for that. You see how Elizabeth came with quite a bit of prestige and money. She was so perfect for me, for I am a planter, a land speculator, and an industrialist. With her money and mine, well, mines, damn those lead mines. They robbed my pockets more than any other venture. Time after time, I had to make the arduous journey to the New River Valley. I had to siphon good slaves off my property, and then I had to reorganize my credit. It was the umpteenth journey. That June evening of 1766, when my companions and I were returning to Williamsburg, when we stopped at Mosby Tavern for the evening at Cumberland Courthouse. I was enjoying some new friends, having a good time, toasting, and at one point in the frivolity, I swore an oath, as you do. Rutledge piped up from across the room to reprimand me. Me! The Golumpus is a fugitive rebel from the northern counties, very disloyal to the crown and a mere merchant. He was talking wildly, senselessly, and then he got up at one point and threw wine in my face. What an insult! Of course he started it. And he deserved everything he got, and more. And yes, I gave him more. I tried to throw the bowl of bumbo at him, but was thwarted. I grabbed a candlestick, but was prevented. Then I grabbed the fire tongs, but again prevented. I had no choice but to demand my servant fetch my sword. This insult absolutely had to be answered. As soon as my boy came with the sword, others tried to take it away from me, but they melted at my threats. Across the table, the old Presbyterian fellow stood and called me a friend. No friend of mine was he. He isn't of my class. And there I was, highly agitated, holding my sword, screaming at him, and the next he was dead on the floor. Did he stumble and fall on it? Perhaps somebody pushed him into it. Well then, bullseye. My sword met its mark deep in his heart. No fault of mine. A tragic accident. Afterward, I had my servant take the sword and instructed him to clean it with the finest tallow and put it away. But somehow I am reviled for that. Am I supposed to store a dirty sword? Of course I sat down after the ordeal and had a hot toddy. Who wouldn't? I knew they'd be coming to ask me questions, and I had to steady my nerves. Soon I was arrested and taken to jail. I insist I am not guilty. Nevertheless, Cumberland County kept me for 7 days before taking me to the Williamsburg public jail. It is English law that anyone accused of murder be held until trial in jail, but I could not stay in such a filthy place. Fortunately, the judges in Williamsburg were business associates and good companions of mine. They knew I was a man of integrity. They had consulted legal minds, even that of George Wythe, so esteemed in these colonies, and they let me out on bail. That's when the Virginia Gazette commenced a controversy that convulsed the Commonwealth. Soon I was to be party to the trial of the century. I had tried to make the most of my release, taking care of my failing businesses and my short cash supply, and preparing for trial. But a series of inflammatory articles convinced the public I was a monster, undeserving of peace at home or at work. My son-in-law, John Robinson, had died suddenly in May, before all this trouble started, God rest his soul. And in June, it was discovered, as I was going through the courts, that he had been embezzling public funds, and all cast a critical eye on me, as if I should wish myself hopelessly insolvent. And how fortunate that the Virginia Gazette had a rival that they could use my case to its advantage. Why, they even published the first American murder diagram on my behalf. A writer came up with the idea to mark each move in the tavern with the letter of the alphabet. These newspapers brought people to my door daily, exhorting me, demanding justice. They called for me to hang. They were commoners, and I need not reply to them, but they would not cease. I assure you, I did not murder Robert Rutledge. It was the result of an unfortunate accident, nothing more. But if I were tried and found guilty, I would be sure to meet an ungentlemanly end. The gallows, likely. You can understand how it might be too much for a man to bear. The charges weighed heavily on me. It was such a circus. The mob would surely take matters in their own hands if I were found not guilty. Then, grimly, I got sick and died a month before going to trial. The coroner said it was an attack of nerves. The public denied the trial they so craved, hounded me even to my grave. Would they be happy I died in a nervous fit, a brain hemorrhage? No, they had to muse upon whether I had committed suicide. Suicide! They said it was a way to escape justice. Some said I had escaped altogether, left the country. Could I live without my family? My funeral was suspended because certain spectators refused to believe I was in the coffin. They brought up my cousin Dabney to identify my blackened and distorted features. Nobody could recognize me after several days. Nobody in that excited assemblage would believe a word of truth Dabney spoke before, but when he said it was I in the coffin, they believed him. And at last I was laid to rest. Or was I? Speculate all you want. And please see yourself to the dining room for the next set of tales.
Just wait.